Hi, my name is Kris Hudson from Martin Deerline. We're going to talk about maintenance on the bubble up auger in the grain tank. Especially starting the year in peas, you got to pay a lot of attention to this early in the season or late in the season too, when it starts to get tough wet canola. A couple things to kind of keep an eye on. You want to make sure there's not too much mud buildup inside this auger itself. If you are starting to get a lot of mud buildup, that housing starts to shrink, and then that auger starts to grab on the side of the housing, and you'll end up, if it gets bad enough, you'll end up bending this plate on top here, and then it'll start to loosen off that drive cog at the bottom. We're going to open this up here in a minute and show you. A couple things first though before we open that up. You want to check and make sure that this gap right here on the housing is nice and tight. If there's a gap there and this housing starts to wiggle on there, this one's decently tight, that'll start putting some extra strain on this housing itself, and you could end up cracking or breaking some welds on here. If you do end up having a gap here and you need to tighten this housing up, you loosen this jam nut and then you adjust this bolt up here so it pushes that housing tighter up against the combine frame. Once that's adjusted, tighten it up. And then if you want to drop this housing down, take the pin off, which I already did, and then you can drop this pin out. If this pin drops out nice and easy, you have to adjust this turnbuckle up a little tighter. That's also part of the linkage adjustment and holding this bubble up auger up. So you kick this out and you can just drop this housing down. Now that the housing's open, you want to check both the auger driver cogs and the drive cog itself on the gearbox. So you want to get your finger in here and carefully just check to see if this edge is still nice and square on the gearbox driver. If that's rounded off considerably, you're going to have some problems with engagement from the driver to the auger itself. If this auger stalls, then you can back up the whole clean grain elevator and you can have issues with blowing belts or cracking housings. While you're in here checking, it's a good idea to check and make sure that this mass flow sensor itself is clean. You can get contamination built up on the front face of this mass flow sensor, or you can also get buildup behind here. So you want to make sure both sides are clean. If you have major buildup in here, this could really affect your yield calibrations on the combine. Once you've got everything adjusted and you got the housing closed again, the last thing you want to do is you want to loosen this bolt at the top side here on the bearing, and you want to let that auger fall down against the driver on the bottom side of the auger. So you want to check and see what kind of gap you have here. If your gap is big enough, we have adjustment shim washers in parts that you should install in there to keep that driver nice and tight on the bottom side.